1959, a Saturday afternoon at Woolworth's on 125th Street in Harlem. A woman stands at the notions counter with a card of lace trim, a spool of white thread, and a rhinestone brooch. Total at the register, 85 cents. By Monday morning, that lace is stitched along the neckline of a plain cotton dress. The brooch is pinned at the collar. She walks into work looking like she spent $15 on a new outfit. She spent less than $1. Nobody will ever know. That was always the point. Number 25. Sewing from Butterick and McCall's patterns. Women made their own dresses, skirts, blouses, and children's Sunday clothes at home from commercial patterns. A Butterick pattern cost 15 to 25 cents. The tissue paper inside crinkled like onion skin when you unfolded it on the kitchen table. Fabric from the bolt ends at Woolworth's ran 35 to 50 cents a yard. Cotton broadcloth for every day, rayon crepe for something nicer, sateen if it was meant for church. The whir of a Singer treadle machine in the front room after the children went to bed. A dress completed in one evening that followed the same silhouette Vogue was showing that season. These women were not copying fashion. They were engineering it at the kitchen table. And nobody at church on Sunday could tell the difference. That was the point. The invisibility of the effort was the achievement. But the pattern was only half of it. What made the dress sharp was what happened after it was sewn. Number 24. The pressing cloth and the Saturday night iron. Black women never ironed directly on fabric. A damp flour sack towel or a piece of muslin was always laid between the iron and the garment. A heavy GE flat iron had no steam setting. Those came later. The iron pressed down and lifted, never dragged across the surface. Seams that lay flat as a blade, no shine marks on the cotton, no scorch. A dress that looked tailored by someone charging $5 an hour. The pressing cloth cost nothing. The knowledge behind it was worth more than anything else in the closet. Number 23. Cornstarch starch boiled on the stove. 2 tablespoons of Argo cornstarch dissolved in cold water, then poured into a pot of boiling water and stirred until it turned thick. Garments dipped or sprayed with the warm liquid. The faint chalky smell when the iron hit the starched cotton. Collars that stood straight up on their own. A white blouse so crisp it crackled faintly when she turned her shoulders. The same box of Argo that thickened the gravy at supper stiffened the starch on the ironing board an hour later. 1 box, 2 jobs, pennies for both. Number 22. Vaseline on patent leather shoes. The small jar with the blue cap. 9 cents in 1960. A fingertip of petroleum jelly rubbed into patent leather with a soft rag made shoes look wet under the fluorescent lights of the church vestibule, and it prevented cracking along the toe box for months. The same jar glossed her lips, softened her heels, and shined her daughter's school shoes before the bus came. A single-purpose shoe care product now costs $8 to $12 at the drugstore. That jar did everything and asked for nothing. The shoes were handled. But what held the whole silhouette together started underneath everything else. Number 21. The full slip as architecture. A full-length nylon or rayon slip worn under every dress and every skirt. Non-negotiable. 79 cents to $1.50 from the Sears catalog or J.C. Penney. The cool slide of it against the skin in July. Lace trim at the hem and bodice. It kept the dress from clinging in the humidity. It kept the outline clean in direct sunlight. It kept the fabric from going sheer when she stood near a window. The soft whisper of it moving under the skirt when she walked. The slip was not about modesty. It was about structure. The dress looked right because what was underneath it was right. That principle ran through everything these women did. 5 items in, and everyone came from the same place: the kitchen, the ironing board, the dresser drawer. Nothing was expensive. Nothing was complicated. Everything was deliberate. A jar of Vaseline was shoe polish, was lip balm, was furniture wax in the same afternoon. A box of cornstarch was dinner and laundry before bedtime. That kind of thinking did not come from abundance. It came from refusal. The refusal to look like what you could not afford was winning. Number 20. RIT dye for refreshing and transforming. A small box of RIT powder dye from the grocery shelf, 10 cents. A large pot on the stove filled with boiling water. A faded navy dress dunked and stirred with a wooden spoon until it came out jet black or deep plum. It dried on the clothesline in the backyard and looked brand new by morning. A pair of white canvas shoes dyed to match a dress for Saturday night. One dress worn in 3 different colors across a single year. The faint dye stain on the kitchen towels that never fully came out in the wash. Nobody at church knew the dress was the same one from April. That was the craft, making a small wardrobe look infinite. Number 19. The brooch as wardrobe multiplier. A rhinestone circle pin from the Woolworth's costume jewelry counter, 50 cents. Pinned at the collar on Monday, at the waist over a belt on Wednesday, holding a scarf closed at the throat on Friday, centered on the hatband on Sunday morning. The weight of it in the palm, the click of the clasp snapping open, the way it caught light from across the room like something worth 100 times its price. One pin, one decision each morning. That was all it took to walk out the door looking like a different woman than the one who walked out yesterday. Number 18. Turning collars and cuffs. When a shirt collar wore thin or frayed along the fold line, a woman unstitched it with a small seam ripper. She flipped it so the fresh underside faced outward. She pressed it flat with the iron. She re-sewed it by hand or on the machine. A man's white dress shirt got another full year of Sundays from that single repair. The stitching was invisible if you did it right. And these women did it right. Throwing away was not in the vocabulary. A shirt did not die when it frayed. It got a second life from someone who refused to waste what still had use in it. She fixed what she had. But when she needed to look like more than what she had, she reached for something even simpler. Number 17. The white cotton gloves, a pair from Woolworth's or McCray's, 5 and dime. 15 to 25 cents, wrist length, sometimes with a small pearl button at the closure. Washed by hand on Saturday night, dried flat on the towel rack, pressed with the iron on Sunday morning. The snap of pulling them on over each finger. The way they turned a plain cotton dress into something that belonged to a woman of means. White gloves with a dark dress, dark gloves with a light one. They were the punctuation mark at the end of the whole outfit. They said, finished. They said, complete. They said, I did not leave this house without every detail accounted for. Number 16. The belt trick. One good belt used to cinch the waist and change the entire shape of a dress. A wide elastic cinch belt in red or black, or a narrow leather belt from the Sears catalog at 75 cents, buckle polished with a soft cloth the night before, the same belt worn over a cardigan on Tuesday, over a cotton shift on Thursday, over the church dress on Sunday. It pulled the waist in 2 inches and changed the whole line of the body. Made a 50-cent homemade dress look like a $5 store-bought outfit. Fit was everything to these women, not size, fit. And the belt was the cheapest shortcut to getting it right. Number 15. Buying quality on layaway. A wool winter coat at J.C. Penney. Full price, $12, 50 cents down, and 50 cents a week through the fall. The layaway ticket folded into the pocketbook. Walking into the store every Friday afternoon to make the payment at the counter. Picking up the coat the week before Thanksgiving. The weight of good wool settling into both hands. One coat that lasted 8 winters without losing its shape. Layaway required patience and planning. 2 things the modern credit card was designed to eliminate. These women did not want it now. They wanted it right. And they were willing to wait 20 weeks for right. What is emerging here is not a list of tricks. It is a philosophy with a spine. Every item follows the same logic. Invest time where there is no money to invest. See 5 uses where the store sees 1. Refuse to let anyone else decide how you present yourself to the world. This was not frugality. Frugality is about spending less. This was about meaning more with less in the hand and more in the mind. Number 14. Dyeing shoes to match the outfit. 1 pair of good pumps from Baker's or Kinney shoes. $2.98. A bottle of Esquire liquid shoe dye at 25 cents. The shoes started navy in winter, became black by fall, turned deep brown for spring, applied with the small sponge dauber in the cap, dried on a sheet of newspaper by the back door, buffed to a shine with a cotton rag. 1 pair of shoes, 4 colors across a single year. That was not poverty talking. That was engineering. Number 13. Adding lace collars and cuffs to plain dresses. Lace trim from the notions counter at Woolworth's, 5 to 10 cents a yard. White eyelet or scalloped lace, hand-stitched along the neckline of a cotton dress, or tacked inside the sleeve so just the edge showed at the cuff. Removed after wearing, washed, pressed flat, and reattached to a different dress the next week. Portable elegance, transferable refinement. A dime's worth of lace changed the entire conversation a plain dress was having. Number 12. The pressed handkerchief as accessory. White cotton with a crocheted edge, or a corner embroidered with a single initial. A drop of evening in Paris perfume from the 5 and dime, 25 cents for the small cobalt blue bottle. The handkerchief was folded into a precise triangle and tucked at the top of the handbag. It was used to dab the forehead in summer heat. It was never blown into in public. The faint blue floral scent rose from the fold. It was the detail nobody else could see until she reached for it. And that was exactly the point. That phrase covered everything about these women. Every detail was considered, even the ones nobody else would notice. Number 11. The matching rule. Hat, gloves, handbag. And shoes coordinated by color, by tone, by season. Navy shoes, navy bag, navy gloves, navy hat, with a small feather pinned to the band. All black in winter, all white for Easter from head to toe. Not matching exactly, coordinated. A brown handbag with brown pumps but a cream glove and a hat that bridged the 2 tones together. The color story read across the whole body like a sentence. Every piece in conversation with the next. This was not advice from a fashion magazine. It was a code passed between mothers, aunts, and church sisters about what it meant to walk out of the house looking like your life was in order, whether it was or not. Number 10. Letting out and taking in seams. Women built extra seam allowance into every homemade garment. Sometimes a full inch of fabric pressed flat inside the seam where nobody could see it. When the body changed, a seam ripper opened the stitching. The fabric was let out, pressed smooth, and resewn the same evening. A dress that fit in March was still fitting in September. The same dress worn across 3 years of a changing body. Through pregnancies, through seasons, through life. Fast fashion today is designed to last 1 season and be thrown away. These dresses were designed to stay. There is a reason none of this appears in any fashion history textbook. The women who built this system were not interviewed, not photographed by Vogue, not credited by anyone with a byline. They were working class and middle class black women in Birmingham and Memphis and Chicago and Detroit. Their knowledge traveled hand to hand and kitchen to kitchen, mother to daughter to granddaughter. It was never written down because the people writing things down were not looking in their direction. Number 9. The church hat as crown. The Sunday hat was not decoration. It was identity. A wide-brim hat from a local milliner or ordered from the Sears catalog, $2 to $5, often the most expensive single accessory a woman owned. Velvet in winter, straw in summer. A feather, a net veil, a silk flower, a satin ribbon. Stored in a round hat box on the top shelf of the closet. Handled only by the brim, never the crown. Brushed gently with a soft cloth before wearing. The angle mattered more than anything else, always the angle. In a world that worked to make her invisible 6 days a week, on Sunday morning she walked into the sanctuary wearing a crown. Everybody in that building understood what it meant. Number 8. Costume jewelry rotation from the 5 and dime. Clip-on earrings from the Woolworth's jewelry counter, 25 to 50 cents a pair. A single strand of faux pearls with the barrel clasp that pinched the neck hairs if you were not careful. A gold-tone bangle stored in a small box lined with pink satin on the dresser. 3 pairs of earrings and 2 necklaces, creating 15 different combinations across 5 dresses. The math was simple. A woman who owned 5 cheap pieces and knew how to mix them looked wealthier than a woman who owned 20 and did not. Knowledge was the luxury. It always was. Number 7. The girdle as foundation. A Playtex or Maidenform girdle from the Sears catalog. $1 to $2.50. The elastic pulling firm across the hips and waist. Boned panels pressing the stomach smooth. Garter tabs holding the nylon stockings taut with a satisfying snap. The effort of pulling it on. The slight breathlessness once it was in place. But the dress fell in one clean, unbroken line from shoulder to knee. Comfort was not the priority. The line was the priority. These women understood something the modern world has forgotten. How a garment falls on the body depends entirely on the foundation beneath it. The foundation was set and the silhouette was clean. But keeping it all together through southern heat and a 12-hour day required one more invisible trick. Number 6. Dress shields to protect from perspiration. Kleinert's dress shields from the Notions counter, 15 to 25 cents a pair. Crescent-shaped and snapped or pinned inside the armhole of a dress. A silk or cotton garment that could survive an entire Alabama summer without a single yellow stain under the arms. They were removed after wearing, hand-washed, and pinned back in for the next week. The same pair could last a full year. Composure in 90-degree heat. That was the quiet achievement nobody discusses. Every cool, collected woman sitting in every sweltering church pew in July had a pair of these hidden inside her dress. Nobody ever saw them. That was the whole point. Number 5. Flour sack and feed sack dresses. A 25-pound sack of Pillsbury flour or Purina chicken feed. The cotton was printed with small flowers, gingham checks, and tiny geometric patterns. The companies learned that women were using the fabric and started printing attractive designs on purpose. The sack was soaked overnight to loosen the brand label. It was bleached in the sun on the line, cut on the kitchen table, and sewn into a child's dress or a full apron. 3 sacks made an adult dress. The cost, beyond the groceries already coming into the house, was nothing. A woman who sewed a Sunday dress from a flour sack did not see poverty in the fabric. She saw possibility. When her daughter walked into church wearing it, pressed and starched and perfectly fitted, nobody knew where it came from. That was the victory. Number 4. The reversible homemade dress. Some women sewed dresses finished completely on both sides. A small floral print on one side and a solid navy or brown on the reverse. Both hemlines clean, both necklines finished, buttons that worked from either direction. One dress, 2 outfits. No one the wiser. This is the kind of engineering a Parisian fashion house would call an innovation. When a black woman in Memphis did it, nobody called it anything at all. It was just Tuesday. Number 3. The Sunday dress rotation system. 3 cotton dresses and 1 good rayon, kept for 5th Sundays and funerals. Each dress pressed, starched, and accessorized differently every time it appeared. The robin's egg blue with white gloves on the first Sunday. The same blue dress with the navy belt and the brooch on the 3rd. A mental calendar more precise than anything written on paper. Some women coordinated with sisters and cousins to make sure they never wore the same color to the same church on the same morning. 3 dresses and a system. Not a closet full of options, a mind full of intention. Number 2. The kitchen seamstress. In every black neighborhood there was a woman who sewed for the whole block. Miss Lucille's back room had a Singer machine on a table by the window for the light. A tomato-shaped pin cushion, fabric scraps in a wicker basket by the door. Alterations, 50 cents. A new dress from your own fabric, $1.50. Children's Easter outfits, $1 each. The hum of the machine behind a closed door on a Tuesday evening. The finished dress hanging on the back of a chair under a clean sheet by Friday. She never advertised. Every well-dressed woman on the street was her advertisement. She was a banker who took payments in installments. A counselor who listened and never repeated what she heard over the pins. What she sold was not a garment. It was the chance to look like the person you already knew you were. Number 1. The Easter outfit. Sewn from scratch. Planning started in February. Fabric selected from a Woolworth's bolt or ordered from the Sears Spring Catalog. A Butterick or Simplicity pattern at 15 cents. Lining material, a spool of matching thread, a zipper, and 4 covered buttons. The dress took shape over weeks on the kitchen table after supper dishes were cleared. A hat retrimmed with fresh ribbon and silk flowers from the craft counter. White cotton gloves washed, pressed, and laid on the bed the night before. Shoe dye applied and dried by the back door. Children's outfits cut from the same bolt so the family walked in together as one. Easter morning. The final inspection in the bedroom mirror, every seam straight, every collar pressed to a knife edge. The pocketbook packed with a clean handkerchief and a quarter for the collection plate. The walk from the car to the church steps. Unhurried, heads turning in the pews, not because of what it cost, because of how much care it carried in every stitch. Just a woman with thread and starch and a dime store brooch, and the unshakable belief that how she entered a room mattered. Not because the world told her it did, because she decided it did. And that decision was the most elegant thing she ever wore. And if you want more forgotten wisdom from the generations who came before us, the next video is waiting for you right now.